The studio now is Suzan Kaiza, as a chartered financial analyst and does many other things in relation to, investment, economy, etc. So Suzan, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Great. So what I know about chartered financial analysts is, analyzing economies and etc. What else do you do with the CFA?
Okay, I'm also on the member committee of the CFA Society. So we do a number of things in working towards in training, in talking to the public about the economy. We're organizing an investment conference in Nairobi on the 5th April, where we're bringing together investment practitioners to discuss the trends in the economy and to see how we can bring about different minds to come up to solutions to the various challenges that we're facing in the economy. We've also done several activities such as training of journalists to improve the awareness of the knowledge in the economy on the whole about the investment.
Reporting on economies.
In the
Whilst I
economy.
see you operate in the region largely, where you have Kenya as, the region's big boy, and then you have Uganda seen as the second largest economy. So let me begin from here. What is your view in the last few months or last few years or last 1 year? What's been your outlook? What has been your view of, if you have to review this economy, how has been the performance in your eyes?
In my
beyond
eyes,
what we know?
We're heading towards a slightly bit of a recovery. The cutting of the interest rates will do us better in the long term. For the last 3 or 4 years, it has been a bit stagnant. The economical growth has been a bit stagnant and difficult. So with the slashing of interest rates, I think that will prove better for the economy in the long run.
So when you talk of slashing of interest rates, now you go now to the sectors in the private sector, you see people manufacturing and people who are taking small loans, etc. And then you look at bank records also. There's this sentiment, people tend to have concerns that as rates go down, as the central bank rate goes down, banks are not responding as much as they should have responded. What would you say to people in business who think not much is being done, for them, at least to bring about, that change that they really want to have, so that they can grow their businesses at a rate that they hope to?
Well, looking at it from the bank's point of view, there's an element of risk when you're lending out to this person, and banks got their fingers burnt when the high interest rates were. There was an increase in bad debts, so they're a bit reluctant to lend to the private sector, and the fact that the interest rates on government borrowing are attractive, it means that a bank can easily lend to the government and get a returns of the investment. So there's less incentive for them to lend to the private sector, which is at a higher risk. So we also have to look at the risk of lending to ourselves in the private sector, and there are key reforms that we have to do within the economy such that it's less risky for the banker to lend to the private sector.
So let's talk about, because we can talk about the private sector without talking about investments, because government now has to support both. We have had the areas where, instances where government gives, very generous incentives, and then yet when you look at what we attract in terms of investments, it doesn't look to be quality investments, or investments that you can look at and say these are tangible, they actually can bring about change in economic growth. Why is that?
Well, I think that is one of the reasons that we're organizing the conference that we're organizing, is to bring together different minds, because there are very many sectors of the economy that investors look at rather than giving them free land. Because, one thing that the government is doing currently is investing a lot in the infrastructure, in the roads, which may be a positive, but we also have to look at how much debt they're taking. Is it sustainable in the long run? We also have to look at key sectors like education, the quality of the education that we are providing to our candidates, our graduates. Is it preparing them for the current world? If you look at China, they've invested heavily in technology, education. So when you go there, you have a qualified workforce. We also have to look at our healthcare section. So there are very many key aspects of the economy. So the government is doing well in terms of infrastructure, but we also have to look at their debt burden, because these are the things investors look at. So investors look at a number of things, because they also look at the risk, they also look at political stability. There are very many factors which they look at. Yes.
A lot of things that have been discussed most of these conferences. So I need you to, as we go, tell me, beyond what we have had a lot of times, access to finance, infrastructure, investment, etc. What other unique things are going to come out of this conference? And please tell us about what is this conference and when is it?
This conference is being held on 5th April in Nairobi at the Sarova Stanley Hotel. So this conference will bring together a number of topics. One key thing that is being discussed globally is cryptocurrencies. there's a lot of interest in cryptocurrencies, and we need to see, is it really a viable investment for people to invest in? We have to look at fintech and its effect, its effect on not just our economy, but on investors as a whole, because fintech will mean that there'll be job losses in the investment world as it is, and you can tap into fintech to mobilize savings for investment. So there are a number of things that you can do with fintech.
Generally, the transformative power of technology.
New products, Islamic banking, and such.
Sure. Thank you very much, Suzan, Kaiza. We don't have a lot of time on TV at 1 to really discuss these things. We can always come back again and again, and looking forward to seeing you at the conference as well. She's a chartered financial analyst, and thank you very much.